You practice death for an hour. It changed how you want to live. You stand barefoot on the cool tiles inside room 3 as your friend's voice echoes in your head. With this in mind, it'll be different this time, I promise. You lock the door to your private chamber for the next hour or so. You hang your bag on the wall and unpocket your phone, tucking it into the bag. You turn to face the isolation tank, a large, hollow egg with a hinged lid, a shallow pool of water, and colored lights inside. The sensory deprivation pod, the float tank. You've been in it once before. Last time, you came to relax. You'd heard of the benefits of floating, how it's good for de-stressing, how lying on salt-thick water allows the body and mind to unwind. The thing that stuck with you the most was the absence of sensory input, a lack of experience, at least externally. So you are left with the internal experience of being human, stripped of the physical. You begin to disrobe as flashes of your first float return. The pod, when closed, lets no light in. You see as much with your eyes open as with your eyes closed. No sound can be heard except for you, the water responding to the shifts of your body, and the strangely loud sound of your own breathing, as if you'd never really heard it before. You shudder slightly at the memory of that sensory abyss, now standing bare in the dim light. Before you can float, you must shower, standard procedure. On your tiptoes on the soft mat outside the shower, you turn the knob, careful not to let your arm come into contact with the cold spray. While you wait for the water to warm, you remember that in the pod, the water is kept at a very specific temperature, the same as your skin. The air too. Everything is geared to sensory nothingness. The steam rises and swirls before dissipating, like the faintest preview of disillusion. You step into the now satisfying stream, the pressure and warmth lulling you towards a forgetful bliss. But you do not forget why you're here. You remember what your friend said last week over coffee when you told them you were coming back. Most people treat the float like a spa, they'd said. But if you let your body disappear, it's a chance for your soul to take account, like a rehearsal before the real meeting. They'd caught you off guard. You weren't quite sure what they meant by their enthusiastic outburst. Think of the isolation tank as your grave. When you enter, you are simulating death, returning to the one. They'd paused, watching your expression as you swallowed the thought. The gravity of those words increased as you faced your newfound symbolic death in person. It changed how you viewed everything. You recall a quote, "Remember often the destroyer of pleasures," indicating death, a statement from the final prophet, salutations and peace be upon him. The shower feels less like hygiene now, and more like a kind of pre-burial washing. As you re-emerge onto the plush bath mat, lavender steam hanging in the air, you gaze at the pulsating luminescence that is the Epsom salt bed, ready to begin this soulward journey. Before you enter, you twist off your wedding ring and place it neatly on a tray beside the pod. Your unclasped watch follows, laid out carefully. You leave behind everything when you die. You get a small taste of that now, letting go of time and roles for an hour. You grip the edge of the isolation tank as you swing your leg into the viscous saline. You shift from standing to holding both sides of the pod as you lower yourself into a sitting position. You're still surprised, even this second time, at how easily the water holds your weight. You remember the receptionist mentioning that the salt-to-water ratio in the tank is greater than that of the Dead Sea. You laugh internally at the irony of that comparison, given why you've come. The lid comes down with ease, and a hydraulic sigh takes over the effort from your outstretched arm. The light from the room slowly vanishes until only a thin strip of light seeps through the crack. One final pull seals it shut. You lie back, surrendering your body to the bizarre sensation of weightlessness that the buoyant water offers. The mood lighting from within the isolation tank glows softly. One gentle push of a silicone button on the side of the pod abruptly throws you into the familiar, unfamiliar abyss. A soft 70s electronic melody fills the tank. It's played to indicate the start and end of the float experience, you remember the receptionist saying. It disturbs your headspace, but you let your neck fully settle into the cushion of water beneath your hair, and the water rises beyond the boundaries of your ear, muffling the ambient synth sequence into insignificance. Your hair spreads laterally as the water level rests at your cheekbones. You imagine your head looks like a fanned peacock's tail. When you fully extend your extremities, you make contact with the edge of the curved walls, centering you. The music completely fades, and you're only left with the sound of your breath, heartbeat, and the even louder sound of your thoughts. This interminable chatter ricochets within your skull. At first, you pretend to passively observe, like watching passing traffic. But soon enough, you're climbing into cars, chasing bikes down alleyways, and running out of breath. In the absence of outside sensation, your mind's voice is center stage. Each thought feels like a loose thread in a tangled ball of yarn. After a while, you realize you won't be able to follow every thought to its end. So you stop tugging at every thread and turn back to the few knots you've been avoiding, the clutter you've pushed to the back of your mind. An avoidable fight with your father springs to mind. I could have held my tongue, and I've been too stubborn to apologize. But then you remember the pain of what he said. How could he? No, that's not an excuse. You crossed a line and you have to own that. Regret reveals itself as you realize that you've not been on the best of terms since. So you probably spend some time rehearsing an apology. Then another. A message you've yet to send to your childhood friend. They were there for you when your mother passed, but you've hardly shown the support you know you could give. You think about how busy you've been. Then you feel so silly searching for a justification. Work and family are not an excuse for being a bad human. You remember your sister and the many I love yous that you've delayed. I'm just avoidant. That's not good enough. A relationship is a two-way street. You still feel unsettled. I seek refuge in God. You then think, what if you were actually dead? You struggle to swallow as a lump forms in your throat. The idea that you might die without having the chance to tell her how much she means to you makes your stomach churn. I can only control how I act. Why do I let Satan deceive me? You think about your neglect of your own body in recent days. You convince yourself over and over again of these delusions of grandeur. You have these ideas about how you plan to get back on track, whatever that means. The same goes for your reading habit, the perpetual New Year's goal that you've always failed to continue past January. I'm not ready to die. I have too much I want to do. This thought comes after realizing you've not picked up the Quran in over 4 months. This whole time, you've been so occupied about the relationships with the rest of His creation that you haven't left room to even think about your connection to the One. You hardly feel the tears fall down the side of your face as they join the body of water that's supporting this emotional ball of yarn. You picture an autumn morning with your spouse at the local soup kitchen. The fragrant, comforting, savory aromas make their way into the tank as you're transported back to that day. Your heart smiles as it remembers the kind words it received from your unsheltered neighbors. You remember the smiles you exchanged with your spouse as you both emptied ladles into wooden bowls and people dug into tomato and pasta soup with butter, thyme, and croutons. Another memory surfaces on the plains of your consciousness. A time when you nursed an injured bee back to health with your brother. Out of pure childlike desire to see it fly freely again, you plucked every single spring flower in your parents' garden to serve as sweet nutrition for the Creator's little black and yellow servant. You remember the loving faces of your parents that night at dinner as your mother recounted the event to your father. This memory flickers across your mind like a candle in this sensory night, bringing with it warmth and wonder. The Merciful has truly been so kind to me. There's a cathartic healing in finally letting these moments in time surface here, not rushing to justify or make 1,000 excuses for yourself, and taking time to show the Merciful One gratitude for the good he's given you. Just admitting, these are mine. Time unravels in the tank, or maybe it condenses. You're not sure anymore, and the absence of everything is strange. You wonder, is this what the grave will be like? Then you correct yourself. The grave isn't just deprivation from the worldly realm. It's unveiling, the first stage of the afterworld, where a window of paradise or hell is opened, depending on who you've become. What if this is what it felt like to be in the womb? It just strikes you how similar the womb is to the grave, a kind of waiting room before the next stage of life. The soul is, for the most part, alone in the womb before entering a world so full of people and noise. Likewise, the soul is mostly alone in the grave before it emerges into a world where all that has existed is present. You feel as if your body and mind are melting into the water. The boundaries of the tank, even though only inches away, feel infinitely distant. You picture your body from a bird's eye view, this glowing soul merging into a boundless pool. This is the disillusion that the steam promised minutes ago. How many minutes, you wonder? You imagine being in the grave now. You begin a kind of self-reckoning, sitting with nothing but your deeds, good or bad, righteous or other than that, sincere or performed for others' eyes. The righteous predecessors would lie in graves they dug for themselves to contemplate death. Rabi' ibn Khaytham, a second-generation Muslim, did this very thing in his own home. This time, you don't hear your friend's voice. Instead, the words wash over your mind as abstract visualization, images and symbols, replacing voice and words. You understand, to some extent, why Rabi' would do this. What an excellent way to soften the heart. The usual coordinates, space, time, body, loosen. Up and down lose their certainty. You know it's not true, but you can't help but think, I've escaped gravity. Barefoot and bare, as the one created you the first time, you begin to feel that your orientation has shifted from lying to standing, and you feel as if you are at the day of judgment. Your heart tightens with the sense that the final reckoning could be happening now, in this pocket outside of time. For a brief moment, you feel as though you are already standing before your Lord, seen completely, with nothing to shield you, as the truth of who you have become is exposed entirely. The sound of your heartbeat pulls your awareness back to your body. The intensity of that experience leaves you feeling anxious. You wish for nothing more than a return to the world. A verse comes to you at that exact moment. My Lord, send me back. that I might do righteousness in that which I left behind. Words from the 99th and 100th verse of the chapter of the believers. Words that feel like your own at this moment. You recall how the verse ends. They are told, never. As the cry of the dead is a useless appeal and false promises. Your situation is different. You are alive. Your heart is beating louder now than when you enter the pod. Your breath is still with you. You have time. You're not sure how long you have, but it's not the amount of time that matters. It's what you do with it. Speaking of time, just as you wondered how long you have left in the tank, a faint wash of music returns. The same synth sequence as before. The gentle blue glow of slowly increasing intensity emanates from below the water. Beautiful reflections of the ripples dance within the isolation tank. The shimmering tapestry increases in entropy as your body begins to stir. All praise to the merciful one who allowed me to rise again. You make a short prayer as you stand, pushing the lid up as you emerge from your temporary death. Light spills in, thin at first, then sharp. Your eyes pinch shut on instinct. Weight returns to your limbs. You have a physical form again. You sit up slowly, water falling from your shoulders. You blink, reach for the handle, and step back into the soft yellow of room 3. The post-float shower rinses the salt from your skin. This time, it feels like being handed your body back, cell by cell. On the small tray, the ring waits, as does the watch. You dry your hands and slide them on. Covenant, time, rolls. In the little meditation room outside, you sit clothed, phone still in your bag, a glass of green tea warming your palms, and a blank page open on the table in front of you. You sip the comforting tea before replacing your hands with the pen and notebook. We spend our lives running from silence. Yet silence is where we finally meet ourselves. We will never truly know the one until we know ourselves. The opposite is also true. And the one who cannot sit in a dark room alone with his deeds will struggle when there is no door to reopen. Okay, this is progress, God willing. But how do I not forget and regress? You need to take the advice of your prophet and remind yourself more regularly of death. You watch the faint feathering of the ink on the page as you use your fountain pen to write a list of ways to do this. 1. Be like Uthman, the companion and third caliph in Islam. He would frequent the graveyards, weeping until his beard was soaked. The grave is the first stage of the hereafter, was his reply to why he cried. You drop your pen in between the pages, grabbing the cup of tea, now the perfect drinking temperature, as you take your first sip before you finish your reflection. 2. You don't need a float tank to simulate death. They can be fairly costly. But lying on the floor, with an eye mask at home and headphones, could simulate sensory reduction for an inward journey like this. It's not the apparatus that matters, it's the intention. 3. Be like Rabi'. He would reflect on death, taking account of his actions when he'd feel hardness in his heart. I can do that too. I need to monitor my internal reality more and take account accordingly. Journaling about my deeds is another approach I could take to keep myself honest and map out how to return to the one. It feels good to get that out. You don't try to list every thought that you had in the dark. That's overwhelming, and you'll probably need some time to process the extent of your experience before you write more. But you want to add a final line to help you capture this experience, an intention that you want to shape your trajectory. I walked in here to practice dying. I'll walk out wanting to live differently before I really do.